Hello again, fellow fans of Roger and We Happy Gnomes. Today, we're going to be talking a bit about our basic default dispatch instruction formats for property management accounts versus client-informed dispatch instructions, along with why they're important, a smattering of what should be in them, and how our nimble-minded gnomes adapt if we don't have any to work with. Information that should be included in your dispatch instructions for our operators includes, but is not limited to, security coverage and contact information, towing contact information, on-call maintenance contact order, alternates in case of being unable to reach the on-call, and special idiosyncrasies associated with your property. The good news is, we have a fill-in-the-blanks kind of file in Microsoft Word .wpd format that you can use to edit and adapt as you need to. Just bear in mind that the dispatch instruction shown is the layout we use, so any alterations as to such format we'll need to talk about. Just ask us and we'll happily email you a copy for you to work with. More good news, taking about 20 minutes with us after you complete it, will be all that really takes to get everything situated. First, a couple of caveats to emptor. Although the scheduling and contact information for your on-call maintenance personnel is, indeed, related to your dispatch instructions, these are handled separately through the contact information in your authorization form, or you can email us with additions, subtractions, etc. for your personnel. Also, we are able to program in schedules, as we'll explain a bit more on later in this video. Its use is handled differently than through dispatch instructions, so please contact us for more on these. Also, this is not to be confused with our questionnaire regarding property details and amenities information, as that is for fielding lesser informational calls more efficiently for you when your lines are forwarded. But that's going to have to be explained more in an upcoming video. Alrighty then. Let's boogie on, shall we? Security information. First question is, obviously, whether you use some form of private security for your premises. Although we don't wish to insert ourselves into any internal management decisions of yours, we do find that having overnight security is beneficial on multiple levels. No, we do not currently answer for any security companies or get any money from them for that. It's just that accounts that have security allow for more options for us to dispatch to avoid bothering you unless you really need to be bothered. This isn't limited to security issues either. Having an on-site representative awake and immediately available on site allows us to be able to have certain questionable maintenance calls investigated further before having to wake either you or your on-call from the daytime office team. I can't tell you how many emergency water main break calls we get in the middle of the night that turn out just to be a broken sprinkler head. Important, certainly, but not an emergency without instructions for such. If you have security, we would need the name, phone number or phone numbers for them, dispatch and on-site officer's cell, if any, and hours of coverage. This is normally considered confidential so as to avoid tipping off any potential attempts to track security coverage times. If you do not have security, no worries. We need the number for the local police department. 911 won't work for us from here. And also how you would like any security issues that come up processed and or potentially dispatched to you or your on-call. Towing information. If you have vehicles towed from the property for violations, we need the name and phone number for the company used by you for this function. Nearly all states have posting requirements for any private impounds, including this information posted at the entrances of the property. Since you're already thinking in this area now, this might be a good time to make sure they are updated properly. On-call maintenance scheduling. One of the advantages of the call management system that we use is the ability to program in on-call schedules for our loyal gnomes to be able to tell who's in the barrel, who's on call, at any particular point in time, and can dispatch any urgent calls to the right person, presuming the correct on-call person responds, of course, which brings us to alternates to contact in case of being unable to reach the on-call. This is where the more is indeed the merrier when it comes to property level personnel being available if whoever is on call doesn't respond. Although we do try to keep as many issues as possible kept at the property level, Some types of emergency calls can require us to escalate an emergency issue to the next level. We really don't like doing this, and as a matter of fact, have escalated necessary calls to that level exceedingly rarely, as we tend to exhaust all possible available property level personnel prior to doing so. Special idiosyncrasies associated with your property. Got a property community center that gets rented out to residents for special occasions? How about vehicle entry gates? An RV storage lot for the residents, or even maybe some after-hours RV site rental procedures? Maybe you even have your own sewage treatment plant on site. Special amenities require information for such. Good news again, we're pretty familiar with all of these special concerns and many more that you might not even heard of. On-site solar, wind, natural gas power plants, on-site purple water reclamation systems, all kinds of stuff. You wouldn't believe it. So it's really not that much of an ado for our experienced gnomes. Heck, many of these are found already available in the sample dispatch instructions that we send out. You didn't get one? Let us know right away. We'll send you one appropriate for your type of account. What if we don't get any specific instructions? Again, good news. It ain't our first rodeo, or as we might say here in California, our first rodeo. Our fearless gnomes are experienced executives with the knowledge of handling many, many calls, much like the one we are getting on your line right now. So you're in pretty good hands. When our account setup tech gnome is setting up your account, your answers to the questions asked give a fairly good picture of the level of threshold for response that you wish: low, standard, and high levels. Low-level threshold accounts are just that. It doesn't take much for our gnomes to get a hold of someone. For example, a worried relative of a resident requesting a welfare check in the middle of the night might be dispatchable if the property is also an age-restricted one. Though barking dog calls at 3 a.m. are still likely to be held till the morning. Standard level dispatch is a bit more strict, of course, with only more significant and actionable calls being dispatchable. Lesser calls are either referred to security, where available, held for the morning, or referred back to office hours. Standard levels are generally referred to as fire, flood, or blood, but are actually a bit more fluid than that, allowing for other types of relatively urgent calls to be dispatched out. High-level default dispatch should be pretty obvious by now as a true fire, flood, or blood threshold for dispatching. This level is actually relatively rare amongst our accounts, as our clients tend to want to be more aware of certain lesser, yet still urgent issues. Obviously, these are for use in the absence of actual dispatch instructions from you, such as how you would like after-hours RV calls dealt with where applicable. Fortunately, our wonderful and thoughtful gnomes are so good that we seriously have quite a few accounts that do wonderfully relying on only our brilliant gnomes' sound executive adjudications on the fly, with no dispatch instructions beyond whom to get with a contact failure list. They're just that good. Gnome considerations of surrounding concerns that affect how they process your calls. Why get an answering service in the first place? Because your residents don't want to talk to a machine or a person who acts like one. Of course. In other words, you don't want a drone or a machine with no ability to think or make an executive decision on the spot. Of course, it's best to have those decisions guided by your needs and wishes. This means that dispatch instructions are subject to executive interpretation by our experienced gnomes when combined with surrounding circumstances for each call. All right, big words. Means we think about the time, known property status, special info from the manager, etc., to see if an instruction should be bent or broken for that particular call. As an example, normally, we would not consider a realtor call at 7:30 p.m. local time to be a dispatchable call. Should the manager mention at checkout that he or she is expecting a specific call, though, that would likely cause an executive override by the gnome handling that call. Our brilliant and decisive gnomes do not require supervisory authorization for these decisions. They simply make them. That's why we have them and not a lot of supervisors hanging around to hold their hands for every little thing. Another example. Time of day can make a huge difference in the handling of a call. Enough said, I think, there. You get it. We could spend way too much time on various examples, and that's kind of the point of having our gnomes as executives instead of drones. You just can't Think of every possible issue that can come up in the middle of the night. Now, can you? Me either. So there you go. Epilogue. Now that you have a better idea of how our noble gnomes operate, you can see just how valuable your input is for accurate decisions to be made when you might not be available to just ask. Can we handle it without your return dispatch instructions? Of course. But it will be far more generalized in application than if we have specifics from you to help guide us. Of course, you probably already knew all of this, you smart cookie you. After all, you were smart enough to hire us, weren't you? See you in the next video.